taken in Medgar Evers, we will stand up for Nolan Wells. And just like too many of our young people, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Botham Jean, Terrence Crutcher, Stephon Clark, Sandra Bland, Atiana Jefferson, Alton Sterling, Eric Gardner, George Floyd, Tamir Rice, the young people who I was trying to focus on. Gary, we stand up until we get the truth, until we get justice for Nolan Wells. 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 We were asked if Christine and Elmore and President Johnson can come back and join us on the stage. And Trevon, we will have you coordinate questions and answers for us or President Johnson or Attorney Park and I. I will say this, as President Johnson comes to the stage, I was sharing this with him and Chairman Russell, Christine Clark. God knows we wish we had you at the Department of Justice now. Christine Clark. As I was sharing with President Johnson and Reverend Al and others, this is so important that we continue to talk about Nolan Wells and what happened to him, and that we get attention on him, because in getting attention on him, it brings attention, Cliff Jones, to other cases that are not getting their attention as of yet. But I'm so grateful to Christine and Elmore, because they said whatever we can do, not only to help our son, but to help these other young black boys who was killed the July 4th holiday. And I want to take a moment before we answer your questions to talk about two other young black men, both 18 years old, who were killed in extraordinary ways that are very similar to Nolan. President Johnson, 18-year-old Daniel Irvins went on a fishing trip, out on a fishing boat with two other young men. He was the only black. It is alleged that he ended up accidentally drowning, but his two white friends got his cell phone and threw it away, got his clothes and threw it away, and then went and deleted all of their text messages with him and social media. Sounds familiar? And they've only been charged with tampering with evidence. And his mother is crying out that they should be charged with murder, because if they will lie about his cell phone and his clothes and deleted messages, then they will lie about what really happened to Daniel Irvins. And then there's the matter, President Johnson, Christine Clark, of 18-year-old Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith, on 4th of July, he somehow ends up shot in the head dead. Some of the friends get rid of the gun. The police show up. They tell the police it was an accident. It was an accidental shooting, that they were playing Russian roulette. And Tyler Smith ended up getting killed. And apparently, Christine Clark, President Johnson, the police just took their word for it. His mother and grandmother are incensed. They asked the police, did you do a gunshot residue test on his hands? And the reason they said they had to call us, like Daniel Urbans and Nolan Wells family, because the police told them, President Johnson, that there was no need to do gunshot residue on his hands or any of the other people in the house, because I don't understand this logic, but they said if they were playing Russian roulette, then all of them will have gunshot residue on their hands. So we don't need to do gunshot residue tests. It makes no sense whatsoever. So they are taking the word of these 10 people that your son just killed himself. And you don't have to worry about doing any investigation or testing forensically anything. Just take our word for it. Now, can you imagine in any 3 of these scenarios, had the survivors been young black men and they were with a young white man and he ended up dead, what kind of investigation would that have been? What kind of interrogation would that have been? Would they have ever been able to see the light of day until those questions were answered? Well, just like you would do a thorough investigation for your children, we want you to do a thorough investigation for our children. We don't want anything special. We just want equal justice. Equal justice. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Trevon to lead us in the final session.
We have a few questions. We have my colleagues on either side with microphones. Please announce your name and your media outlet if you have any questions. We're going to be quick because we have other programming going on in real time. We'll go here first.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everybody. Samantha Chapman, ABC7 Chicago. You just unveiled a comprehensive outline of the independent report. Can you summarize for our viewers? Because there's a lot to take in, a lot of information. So in summary, can you succinctly tell us what we can take away from this report? And also, if you can provide more details about the neck.
Yep.
I heard a lot of people behind me gasping when that detail was mentioned.
Yep. Let me try to be very comprehensive. As Dr. Roger Mitchell said, that the focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region, is significant because he cannot determine why you have that red discoloration in the back of his brain. That's significant. He also talked about, Mr. Williams, if you can, just the fact that as it's common practice, he was missing his throat when they received the body. And he wants to know why they held it back. He's not drawing any conclusions, but he said he would want to examine it if there were neck fractures or compressions to the neck. And he thinks that's significant.
Call after the press conference. Make the call after the press conference, okay? We want to listen to the press conference first. and then call after that.
Significant to know at autopsy. The reason he says he would hold it back when he was medical examiner because he thought that there may have been some issues with neck fractures. The last thing that is significant is what we said before about him, the condition of his body when he went into the water.
Right.
Was he conscious or unconscious?
Right.
Was he forced or unforced into the water? He said those things are very significant. But he started off talking.
Call after the press conference. Call after the press conference. Call after the press conference, please. Call after the press conference.
About this red discoloration in the back of his head is something that was of great concern to him. Thank you. Trayvon.
We'll go here.
Darrell Denard with Chicago Speaks on V103. What specifically are you calling for from Mississippi authorities in terms of transparency, but more importantly, investigations?
I know President Johnson is from the state of Mississippi, and the Mississippi Conference president is here. They're calling, as we are, for a fair, impartial, comprehensive investigation. When Nolan's parents heard the sheriff say there's no foul play at the beginning of the investigation, that is cause for concern, major concern. You haven't even investigated, but you're saying no foul play. And so we want them to dot every I and cross every T. You know, we had a meeting with the district attorney, and we expressed to them about our lived experiences. The fact, and you know, they said that's not what happens in her office, but we said we believe if the roles were reversed and there were 3 young black 18-year-olds and there was a white 18-year-old who was with them and he ended up dead, we don't believe that those young black men would not have been interrogated to the full extent of the law. We believe that it would not have been a choice whether they were going to cooperate with law enforcement, if their lawyers and them were going to cooperate. No, they would have been held until they gave answers. They would have been held until they explained the cell phone in their possession. They would have been held until their cell phones have been examined. And so whatever you would do, had the roles been reversed, we want you to do the same thing for Nolan Wells.
We have time for one more question, and then we're going to have a prayer with our Religious Affairs Committee with the family. One more question here. My sister.
I'm Tiffany Walden with the Tribe in Chicago. I know that we're talking about a transparent investigation, but for families and people who are watching, can you kind of give a breakdown or a timeline to the best of your ability of the contact that you've had with Mississippi authorities or Ocean Springs authorities or the Cajun Navy? Have you all talked to them? Do they call you after the initial autopsy? Is it just radio silence from them? Do you have to call them? Can you kind of walk us through that process?
So the last time we actually spoke with local authorities, which would be the sheriff's department, was I think a day or two after his body was found. That was only initiated by me. I sent him a text message. I was like, hey, this is Christine, Nolan's mom. I just want to see if there are any updates. Basically, he called back. There were no updates. He's like, we're still interviewing. And again, my concern, and also my husband's concern, was it was not even an hour that his body had been removed. And the sheriff came out and said, this is, accidental drowning. We don't think there's foul play. Again, That is why we're doing what we're doing and why we're moving the way we are. Because I sat there and asked them, please take this case as if this is your child,
Yes.
your family member, your whatever. And they promised that they would, but when you make statements like that straight out the gate, that's an issue. We did meet with the DA. She did promise, transparency and all of this, all of that. However, damage has already been done because now that's the narrative that's being pushed by the general public, who again, know nothing really, only what they're hearing from other people. So in addition to that, it's all these things coming up. And at the end of the day, like I said before, any parent that would be in this situation, you would do anything to find out what happened to your child. And that is what we're here to do.
It is very important to note that this narrative, this suggestion that it was an accidental drowning, nothing to see here, is troubling, even if that's the case. There were 300 to 400 people out on Horns Island. You mean to tell me nobody saw anything? Nobody can tell us anything about what happened to one of the few black people that were out there on that island that day? It just doesn't add up. The fact that they're saying Nolan said that he would stay behind, but yet an 18-year-old kid would not want his cell phone if he was going to stay behind. The fact that, you have the young lady saying that he said he was going to get back on the boat with the boys, and then the boys saying no, he said he was going to stay behind and talk to her. If that was the case, don't you believe Nolan would have said, give me my cell phone, I'm gonna stay behind. Give me my car keys, I'm gonna stay behind. It's not adding up. And so we're gonna keep fighting and digging until we get the answers, the transparency, the truth, the accountability, and justice for Nolan Wells. Justice for Nolan Wells. Justice for Nolan Wells. Justice for Nolan Wells. Justice for Justice for Nolan Wells.
Justice for Nolan Wells.
Justice for Nolan Wells.
Justice for Nolan Wells. We're going to have our Religious Affairs Committee join us quickly so we can have a quick word of prayer with the family, and that will conclude our press conference formally.
How do we feel about what we heard? How do we feel about what we heard? I want to talk about a word that's left a family searching for answers. The family is searching for answers, and they don't have any. There are none, right? Undetermined. 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 They can't determine what happened to that boy. For weeks, people have followed this story about this boy, a healthy 18-year-old who left to spend the 4th of July with friends and never came home. People have argued online. People have chosen sides. Some have insisted it was a tragic accident. Other people believe that something more serious happened. Then came this independent autopsy press conference. We expected some kind of closure. You know why I don't believe that he just died just normally? He just died without any foul play? Because he don't have no water in his lungs. He don't have no water in his lungs. Why he don't have no water in his lungs if you say he was an accidental drowning? Why ain't no water in his lungs? Because that's what drowning is, right? Ain't that what the sheriff came out there and said? Didn't the sheriff come out there and say drowning? So if it was an accidental drowning, just an ordinary accidental drowning, why he ain't got no water in his lungs? Why ain't no water in that boy's lungs? Don't make no sense to me, right? Oops. Don't make no sense to me why he don't have no water in his lungs. But the preliminary finding is undetermined. What was the finding from the first autopsy? What was the finding there? What stood out ain't the conclusion. It was what the doctor said. He said, I don't want to deal in rumors, I want to deal in the facts that were presented publicly and explain why this case deserves to continue receiving the serious scrutiny that it's receiving. Nolan Wells was 18 years old. By every public account, he was healthy, athletic, looking forward to life. He wasn't battling illness, a physical illness. He wasn't battling any kind of illness, terminal or otherwise. He wasn't somebody expecting to suddenly have a heart attack or have a seizure. He left to spend a holiday with friends on that island. By the end of that trip, everybody else made it back. He didn't. Days later, his body was recovered. So the questions begin. What happened during those final hours? Who saw him last? What exactly took place on that island? What was the timeline? How did a young, healthy 18-year-old leave for a holiday celebration and not come back? Those aren't accusations. I'm not accusing nobody of nothing. These are legitimate questions, because when an 18-year-old dies unexpectedly, the public naturally wants answers to that. We want answers to that. And what Ben Crump is saying is, in the past, we as Black people couldn't trust the authorities to do a thorough examination of bodies when it would implicate somebody that was white. We could not trust the medical examiners. We've had plenty of Black bodies turn up drowned, turn up dead, turn up hung, and then they try to say that these are suicides when they clearly could not be a suicide. So this is the problem that we have right now with Nolan Wells. The Wells family questioned the sequence of events. They wanted a complete investigation. That was the point of bringing Ben Crump on, to have all eyes on what was going on. They wanted transparency. Eventually, attorney Ben Crump joined the family in this effort because they weren't getting the answers that they wanted. That sheriff who came out there and said, oh, it's just a routine, ordinary drowning. Now we know that's not the truth. Now we know that it wasn't an ordinary drowning because he didn't drown. According to this autopsy, according to this, he didn't drown. Because they would have said his water was filled with lungs. His water didn't have lungs in it, according to this autopsy. Maybe I didn't hear him correctly. I could have sworn he went over that and it didn't say anything about him having water in his lungs, which would have meant that he drowned. And the family sought a second autopsy because of what that reporter said. What that sheriff person said. They still have unanswered questions to this day. They have not reached a conclusion. Undetermined means there's no conclusion that has been reached to support a theory. You know what my thoughts are? My thoughts are that first examiner fucked up the body. He knows that first forensic pathologist knows the things that you need to do a thorough examination. He knows what things you need from a body to do a thorough examination. So why is it that he didn't provide everything that he needed to provide for that thorough examination? Why is it that he didn't provide that? He didn't give them the neck or the throat. He couldn't explain, or there was no way to explain the back of the head with the redness on the brain. And there was no water in the lungs. Okay. Why couldn't they determine it? Why didn't that first pathologist, he knew that you needed these things to determine a cause of death. He knew. So apparently there was no drug overdose. Apparently there was no drug overdose, no heart attack, no nothing like that. None of that. Okay. Y'all be killing me. Y'all be killing me in the comments. You be killing me. I told y'all somebody need to get this name and look this person up. Good riddance to the little thug. Y'all be killing me when y'all get in the comment section talking about thugs. Somebody look him up, see what he look like. I mean, as a matter of fact, let me write you down. Let me write you down. Save America. America. 8416. Let's dig into your world and figure out why you so bold and free to come on here mocking a dead person. Let's see how bold you are. So let's talk about the press conference itself. 3 things. Okay, wait a minute. Let me see. Hold on. Let me get the number. Hold on. Let me get the number. Because I didn't put the number on the screen, but I sure had it. Wait a minute. Is this it? Yep, that's the number right there. People can see it. Give a call in. I would love to hear what y'all got to say about this Nolan Wells. What does it say about investigations? What does it say? First, the medical examiner explained that he could not examine Nolan's throat because it had already been removed during the first autopsy. Think about it. One reason families requested an independent examination is to make sure to evaluate any kind of injuries on his body. We also have to take into account that we had those 2 girls that were on the internet saying that Nolan Wells' body was transported with face down. And when he turned it face down, he had been burned or something had happened to his face. Why didn't they have an open casket? Why didn't we have an open casket for Nolan? Okay. There's no open casket for Nolan. Why not? If he was perfect, if he just looked perfectly normal, why is it that they didn't have an open casket for people to see? Okay. I'm not saying there's something automatically improper, but it does mean there were limits on what the second examiner, when he only got certain parts, he couldn't do the total and full examination. That's simply a fact. The examiner described significant redness or red discoloration on the back of Nolan's neck. He did not, let's be careful, because he did not say the cause that the redness caused Nolan's death. He didn't say that. He didn't declare evidence of an assault. He didn't say that either. He documented what he observed. When a young man dies unexpectedly, every documented finding deserves to be understood, not exaggerated or ignored, right? Third, the finding that captured the most attention. The examiner said there was no water in Nolan's lungs, which means that boy died before he got into that water. We jump into conclusions. I get all that. I don't want to jump in. The doctor himself did not stand there and say this proved Nolan did not drown. He didn't say that. Nor did he say it proved homicide. Instead, after reviewing everything available to him, his conclusion remained exactly the same, undetermined. But there was no water in his lungs, which meant he didn't die by water, he didn't die in the water. I think you could have said that he didn't die in the water. Undetermined. That tells us something important. Medicine has not yet provided a complete examination of how Nolan Wells died. So some people hear undetermined and think the case is over. I hear something different. I hear the investigators still have work to do. I hear that science has not answered the very basic question. I hear that this family is still wanting for clarity and transparency. 18-year-old healthy young man doesn't simply become a mystery that everybody should stop talking about. Cases like this deserve patience. They deserve transparency too. And they deserve thoroughness that he deserves. In addition to testing, which should bring more answers, right? Or should bring more questions. The public deserves to know. If investigators uncover new evidence, it should be followed wherever it leads to. Justice is not served by rushing to conclusions, like that sheriff rushed to conclusion. What made that sheriff come out and say it looked like a plain old drowning to him if there ain't no water in the lungs? If there ain't no water in the lungs. Okay? The goal is not to force a conclusion. The goal is to find the truth. So at the end of the press conference today, one thing became clear. The independent autopsy did not close this case. It reminded us why people have remained focused on it. A healthy 18-year-old left for a holiday with friends, and he never returned home. He did not drown in a body of water. He did not drown. Even though the sheriff said, oh, it's a plain old drowning. He didn't drown. What happened? Okay. What happened? Yes. I don't know what happened, but it's so goddamn insane. This crap keeps happening. It really needs to stop. Okay, y'all guys got the phone number on the screen. Give a call, or you can come up, but you won't be on camera. You'll just be. We can hear your voice, and that's about it. If you want to come on the panel, you can come on the panel, but we can hear your voice, but you won't be in the picture. Okay, you won't be on the panel. You won't be in the panel. Ask a parent, their choice. It is their choice to not show his face. Why wouldn't they want the world to see what Nolan looked like? Will the Black community be issuing an apology? Why do we need to issue an apology for what? I know they're upset they're not going to be able to burn down cities. When have we burned down cities? No. As soon as we get to burn down cities, as soon as y'all get to admit that you jackasses overran our state capital. Soon as you January 6ers admit what the fuck you did, then you worry about what the fuck we gonna do about burning a city, jackass. Once you realize the parents hired a civil rights attorney before they hired a private investigator, you know this is all about. Yeah, it's definitely about something, all right. Because the parents, those little boys did lawyer up real quick for a friend that died. They lawyered up real quick. Didn't want to have nothing to do with helping their friend out. Didn't want to have nothing to do with helping their friend get their phone back. They wanted to make sure everything was scrubbed. Of course, none of this is suspicious. It's all normal activity. No, they didn't find any water in Nolan's lungs. He did not have any water in his lungs. Okay. They said they were looking for his teeth. They're going to cover this up like they do everything unexplained. That of course they are. Of course they are. Okay. Of course they are. Of course they are. Because that was the thing. The sheriff came out and said it looked like a plain old drowning to him. How can it be a drowning if he don't have any water in his lungs? There wasn't no water in his lungs, was it? So how did the sheriff how was the sheriff coming out and saying there was water in the lungs? Okay. Makes no sense. Can you hear me, Black America? You got an avatar up there. How can I hear you and not? How can I? Okay.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, can I hear you? I can hear you now.
Oh,
What's happening?
yeah, it's just sad, but once again, HQ, I got a vote, and I know that lots of people go out to the lake and the ocean to die every year.
Oh, you fading
Unless-
in and out. You fading in and out. They can't hear you. You fading in and out because you walking.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah. Can you guys hear him? Say yes in the chat. Okay. Go ahead.
All right, so I go out voting and stuff. It's the summertime, HQ.
Mhm.
A lot of people die at the lake every year. So and I dig it, especially you women, you mothers, you guys care about the loss of life and things like that. But unless something actually is proven, it's an accident. I mean, 4,500 people die every summer from drowning.
He didn't drown.
Well, it says undetermined,
Yes,
and we don't.
no water was in the lungs. You drown when water is in the lung. That's not the undetermined.
Let me ask you a question, HQ. Why is it a young man insurance is higher?
So I have no idea.
If me and you are both 18, if we're both young people, right? You're
Right.
female, I'm a male, and my insurance is going to be $250 a month, and yours is going to be $100 a month. Why is it a young man insurance is higher?
Because they would ordinarily do more reckless things than I would do.
So you see what you said yourself? He's a young man.
Yes, he's
Young
a young man.
Young men do reckless things, HQ. We die all the time. I am not saying that it's. Listen, I'm not saying that it's not these other boys' fault. Okay, but as a man, as a father, I got 16 kids. As a man, as a father, it saddens me. But I also know there was many times where I should have been dead, and there was many times that my boys should have been dead too. Sometimes you make
an excuse. Are you trying to make an excuse? Are you trying?
I'm not trying to make an. I'm not making an excuse.
So you're making the argument that he was a young man, so somehow the young man caused his own death.
HQ, we as young men do it all the time. Yes. HQ, I ride a Harley every day.
I'm going to indulge you for a minute on this. I'm going to indulge you on a minute. So if he did something reckless, why didn't nobody report it? He did something reckless. Hold on. He did something reckless out there by himself. Nobody was out there, and nobody saw this recklessness that you were talking about. Nobody had it on video. Nobody has told the police nothing. He just was out there. Everybody left him, and he did something reckless. That's what you're trying to say to me.
Okay, you ready to listen? I don't know. I didn't see the toxicology report. I don't know if he was drinking, right? We don't know if he was drinking. Now, probably because he was out on the lake with a bunch of white boys and he a little black dude, he probably was drinking, right? So that's number one. That's a bad thing, right? So we don't know what happened. That's all I'm saying, sister. We don't know what happened.
And I agree with you, but here's the thing. Ben Crump would have came out there and said he had alcohol in his system. The alcohol may have overwhelmed him. That blah, blah, blah would have overwhelmed him. Why didn't they come and say anything about the toxicology report? Why didn't they say anything about
that? because that doesn't help. Because that doesn't help Ben Crump at all in this situation. Ben Crump is an ambulance chaser, HQ,
How
and
does it
we
help?
in the
How does
black
it help
community,
Ben Crump? How does him
huh?
being? How does this help Ben Crump at all? How is Ben Crump being helped at all in this situation?
No, if he is to come and come out and tell the truth, oh, you know what? He was 5 times the legal limit. You know what all of us are gonna say? He was drunk off of his ass, and something happened to him. He's probably dead. All let me tell you something that all of us young men do, HQ. We have all pushed the limit with alcohol to where we wake up and say, "Hey, I might shouldn't do that anymore," and then we learn to back off. Some of us do. Once again, you don't understand the psychology. We push shit to the limit of death every time we go out to do something.
I don't think that young man was pushing any kind of limits, and he was doing a tryout 2 days later for some kind of football thing. I don't think he was pushing the limits when he was going to do that on Monday morning, and he knew he had to be in tip-top shape. I don't think the young man.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I was with Mike Tyson the night he left to Japan to fight Buster Douglas. I was with him inside of the club. The club was called the Plush Horse here in Las Vegas. Okay, Mike was drinking. He is doing everything, every kind of illegal thing.
I get that.
He's doing it all.
Nolan
he went and got in the ring. This is his first fight that he lost, HQ. This is what I'm telling you. You don't understand.
Yes, I do. I understand that Nolan Wells was not that type of person. You help his.
You don't know what we don't know him. You don't know what type of person he is.
And that's my whole point. My whole point is I'm going by what his parents said. I'm going by what his parents said. I'm going by what his friends said.
I'm going by what men do on a regular basis.
You can't go by what men do, because my husband never would have did anything like that if he knew he had a bad.
You a lie, HQ. Your husband was a fighter. HQ.
My husband would never have done anything like that if he knew he had a football trial.
HQ. When you met your husband, you said your husband would fight anybody, including the police, right?
Right.
Yes, that is dangerous behavior, and that'll get your ass dead.
But he always knew where his limits were, just like I'm sure
exactly
Wells
and
knew
that's
where his limits
and
were.
That's what I just said. Listen to what you just said.
Men are reckless. Not all men are reckless.
We are HQ, and
you can't say that.
And let me tell you, yes, we are reckless, and I told you, men are reckless. We are dangerous, not only to ourselves first and foremost, but to everybody else. And until we learn our limit, just like you just said, right? Your husband started caring about other things because he had you and the kids to take care of. When you are a young man, HQ, you feel invincible. Every man, if it's any,
that's what happened to this young man. We have to go by the toxicology report. We have to go by.
Okay, so what did it say in the toxicology report?
Said that he didn't have water in his lungs. They didn't
Did it say he had alcohol?
They didn't say anything about alcohol or drugs in his system. They didn't say anything about that. Okay. First and foremost, the contradiction is him, the reporter or the sheriff coming out and saying that he had that it was an ordinary drowning or it was an ordinary accidental drowning. First and foremost, the sheriff had no business coming out there saying those things. He said them before 2 days. Women, it was a couple of hours or 2 days or a day later, and the mother even said something about that on the stage a little while ago. She said, how dare the sheriff come out and say my son accidentally drowned when there's no proof that he drowned, that there was no water in his lungs. You're making assumptions as well. You're making an assumption that this young man was reckless and he did something reckless. I'm saying they took his throat. They took his throat, and this examiner, this first forensic pathologist, his first person who did the autopsy, knows that you need his throat for the second autopsy. Why didn't he send that along with the second person? Two, why didn't
they're probably doing something fishy.
Wait a minute, hold on. Why didn't he examine that bruising on the back of his head? What happened to that? Why wasn't there water in the lungs? If there wasn't water in the lungs, how did the young man die? Apparently, there was no intoxication. Apparently, there was no drug or alcohol intoxication. So why didn't they say that? Nobody's come out and said that. Nobody said anything about that. So it's undetermined, which means maybe there's a scrub somewhere. Maybe somebody scrubbed something.
So did the autopsy that Colin Kaepernick paid for, was that also undetermined, or is that the one that they saying?
That's the one that they're quoting. That's the one they're quoting.
Okay, so what did the first autopsy say? Because then there you go. Like I said, I just know us as men, and like I said, it's sad.
Wait a minute. So out of all, so somebody said something in the chat. They said out of all the four white boys, he was the only reckless one. He was the only one that was. So out of four men, he was the only reckless one. White boys are allowed to be reckless. If Nolan was the type, let me like that around him.
Let me tell you what happens. When I was young and we was out gang banging and doing all of the stupidness, right? If somebody gets shot, HQ, we go and drop their ass off at a hospital. We don't stay there. The whole group doesn't stay there. We drop their ass off at the bench outside, out front, and leave. No, because none of us wants to get in trouble. When I burned my grandma's house down, I fucking left. You don't want to get in trouble.
Okay, you just went all the way off the grid. Okay, you were talking and we didn't hear you.
Something that happened.
Wait a minute. So just give me your I'm sorry. You getting the call? You said you were getting the call?
Yeah, I was getting the call.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna take it? You can come back. Okay. I talk to you later. Talk to you later. What?
No. Okay.
Talk to you later.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye. So some people feel like that. Some people feel like that. Here's the phone number, or you can come up on the panel and give me your opinion. Come on the panel and give me your opinion. See, he's saying reckless boys and men do things, and maybe Nolan did something reckless, or Nolan did something he wasn't supposed to do. You all have to put that link in a web browser. You have to put it in the web browser, just like typing something that you want to find out. You have to put the StreamYard link into a web browser, independent web browser. You can't just click it and come up. I don't know why, but you just can't click it and come up. You got to put it in an independent web browser, a different web browser. So what he said was, or what he's saying is, Nolan Wells was reckless. But how was he reckless? And he was disciplined, and he was on the football team, the baseball team. That's why he was on all these sports. Everybody loved him. He got along with everybody. How was it that this person was reckless in any way, shape, or form? There's no evidence of his life in which he was reckless. Okay. Typical, ordinary 18-year-old teen. The first forensic pathologist, the first autopsy person, took the throat of Nolan and did not send it along with the second autopsy. Why not? When this first autopsy person knows that you need the throat to determine certain things. So why didn't he send that throat along with the rest of the body stuff? Two, What happened to the red bruising on the back of Nolan's head? What was that? What happened to the back of Nolan's head? What did somebody do to him? Did he hit his head on the boat and he fell into the water? Maybe there was no obvious signs of death. How does one die without drowning, but you don't get shot or stabbed? What happens? What could happen? I don't think Ben Crump said anything about drugs or anything like that. So I can't even speak on the fact that could he have had an overdose and fell overboard? And they couldn't catch him in enough time. They didn't know what happened and they just left him. Could that be? I just don't buy they left him on that island. All of them left him on the island and he died by himself out there. What happened? He didn't have water in his lungs, which meant maybe he died before he went into the water. How would he have died before he went into the water? All of these people, 300-400 people on the boat, people, and everybody and their mama gonna have their phone. They gonna have their phone. Everybody and their mama gonna have their phone, even in the water. They're gonna make sure that they got that phone up out of that water, taking pictures, standing in the water, taking pictures of the water, taking pictures of the beach, taking pictures of the boat. How ain't no pictures of Nolan, except maybe one or two? And then that's the back of Nolan. That ain't the front of Nolan. I ain't seen the front of Nolan yet. I saw the back of Nolan 2 or 3 times. Okay. Yeah, somebody would have said something about him being a user immediately. I mean, the undetermined, that is a frustrating phrase. That undetermined label makes it even more suspicious. Y'all understand how that makes it even more suspicious? Why didn't I just can't get past this one fact. How did that man end up on the beach by himself? How did that boy end up on the beach by himself? Nobody saw him fall into the water. Nobody saw him drown. Nobody saw him walk away. Nobody saw none of this. What? Somebody knows something. But my question is, why ain't nobody saying anything? Why are people hiding it? Another thing, a question that I have. The boys called for help from the northern part of the island. Wasn't Nolan's body found on the northwest side of the island? His body was found face down on the northwest side of the island. Why did they need somebody to identify him by his teeth? Why did they not have an open casket? He couldn't have deteriorated that much on the second day, on less than 24 hours missing. He could not have deteriorated that much for them not to have known what he looked like. Okay. Why did you should have known immediately who he was. His body would not have been deteriorated within 24 hours, and he was in water. They called for help from the north side of the island. Nolan was found on the northwest side of the island. So you see, and he didn't have water in his lungs. So what happened to the boy? What happened? We don't know. This is even more questions. Okay. And undetermined makes people frustrated. I get that. And it shouldn't be the end of that conversation. It should remind us that unanswered questions still deserve to get answered. The Wells family deserve to know what happened to their kid. We all as independent observers and people who want to know, we should have an idea of what happened to the young man. Undetermined is not the end of the story. It shouldn't be the end of the story, but we shouldn't have an undetermined verdict. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't have an undetermined verdict. Two, what did the grand jury say? Is the grand jury still going to present evidence? Okay. There were, according to Deborah, he said there were a couple of fights that weekend between Nolan and his friends. Someone's mom had to stop a fight in her pool before the island. What the hell happened? Did they have a fight before they went to the island and then they took Nolan on the island? There's a lot of unanswered questions. I want to know why those boys lawyered up so quickly like they did and deleted all their social media and then had Nolan's social media deleted. I want to know. And people keep saying, oh, Snapchat deletes itself after 24 hours. They're not saying Snapchat deleted itself after 24 hours. They're saying that it was deleted for some other reason, not by Snapchat. All of those boats that were out there, as the boats were all pulling away, as the final boat was pulling away, nobody saw Nolan, which tells me Nolan disappeared before all of the boats disappeared. Before all the other people were gone, Nolan was still on the island, and that's when he disappeared. Right. So there's just too many questions. They have an idea. The question is, can they charge anybody for the death of Nolan Wells? What happened to the poor child? Because we can't tell. Too many questions, too many unanswered questions. And I put them out here just like that. How does it become undetermined? How? How does it become undetermined? I don't know. All I see is red flags. Let me read some of these in the chat. The family has had to go through a lot. And this has undetermined death. Okay. Wait a minute. Let me see. Why? Call the number and see if it's working now. Somebody call the phone number and see if it's working. Because I don't understand why it ain't working. Let me call the phone number. Let me look. Let me call. I'm using my other phone. Let me call that number. Let me call my number.
State your name after the tone, and Google Voice will try to connect you.
Renee. This is me calling.
Call from
Renee.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Did you guys hear that? Put a 1 in the chat if you heard my phone.
Call from
Renee.
To accept, press 1.
I gotta hang up. Okay. Y'all put a 1 in the chat if you heard that. Because I know if you heard it, because it should be on the phone, it should be on the should be held accountable because they're all real. Yeah, they're all involved. Put in the 1 in the chat because I can't tell whether the phone worked or it didn't work. Let me know. Okay, so the phone works. Okay, so you could call the number and it'll work. Or what is it, Tierney? You could have came up on the stage. I would have loved to have got you up here. So it said if he had prescribed medication, they would have told it. Yeah, if he had prescribed medication, but I don't think he had prescribed medication. Okay, you know, Black America is always gonna have the weirdest take about stuff. He's always gonna have the weirdest take about stuff. Okay, but undetermined doesn't mean nothing happened. I believe something happened, because an 18-year-old doesn't go on an island and come back. An 18-year-old doesn't have a heart attack, out of the blue or X, Y, Z. Maybe they had a fight and he hit his head. He went into the water. They didn't chase him out of the water because they knew he knew how to swim. And then any number of things. You see what I'm saying? Any number of things. They wouldn't have had to put their hands on him. So all they would have had to do was put him in the water and drive away. Okay. So we don't know. The girl said he got back on the boat, and boys saying he stayed behind. Liars. The girl, that is a conflicting thing. We don't know what the hell is going on. That's one of the conflicting things. Okay. The fact that nobody was there, nobody who was there knows what happened. Yeah, that's weird to me. The fact that people were there and nobody knows what happened. Nobody saw him going off. Nobody was taking any pictures. Nobody had any other pictures of Nolan. That's why I think it's foul play involved, because you don't have any kind of person that's coming forward and saying anything for this young man. That's crazy. That's wild. That nobody has any kind of anything. Y'all hit the like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully everybody was hitting the like and the share. On the site, like and the subscribe. Okay. The girls put him on. All we have to do is say everything. They see everything. They should see everything and should be able to tell stuff. They should be able to tell something. He said they were jealous of Noah. Were they? That could have been a part of it. Them being jealous of Noah. That could have been a big part of it. We don't know. Okay. It happens. I was a firefighter. It happens all the time. No, not in this case, Black America. Stop whitewashing what happened. People drown with no water. Do people drown with no water? No, I don't think they drown with no water. I don't know. He had a big bruise on the back of his head. Could he have fallen and hit his head and then fell into the water? Okay. I don't know. Look at this goofy. Please write this person's name down, because they probably saying weird and wild shit everywhere they go. This person right here. They probably saying weird and wild shit everywhere they go. Okay. They one of those people that if they kid came up missing and it was all black people that was on the boat, they'd have been turning it upside down. See, I always got to put people like you on the screen, because then we hunt you down and figure out how do you be saying this kind of wild shit in other chats. And let's see, do you be saying this kind of wild stuff in other chats? Stop the monkey business. My father crashed down a hill on an ATV. He climbed all the way back up the hill with rocks and water in his lungs, and he eventually died of that. I don't believe that Nolan died of drowning at all. I don't believe he died of drowning either. Okay. I don't believe he died of drowning either. I think there's some kind of, I believe there was some kind of foul play involved. I don't know what it was. Got somebody calling.
From. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Let's see. Who is it? Hello?
Hey, yes. I believe those boys strangled Nolan to death. And
you think they
strangled
him? Hold on a minute.
I believe they strangled him.
Hold on a minute.
And that's why
hold on.
Medical examiner.
Hello, hold on. Can you guys hear him? Put a 1 in the chat. Can you hear the caller? Put a 1 in the chat real quick. Okay. I need to put a 1 in the chat. Can you hear 1? Put a 1. I need somebody to. Okay. So keep going. You said you think he was strangled?
I believe he was strangled, and that's why the medical examiner didn't send the throat.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
because the windpipe is crushed, and that's the evidence we need to nail them guys. You see, and so one of the boys' stepmom is a judge, so she's gonna protect him by not sending that throat, because I believe they strangle him and crush the windpipe.
Okay, he's saying that if you guys didn't hear, he said they didn't send the throat to the second pathologist because the throat may have been crushed, and that's how Nolan died. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I didn't think of that, but then I did think of that, but I didn't really want to say that. But then that makes kind of the sense. Because this is what I think. Why didn't the first person who did the first autopsy send the throat to the second autopsy guy? He knows that you need that throat. That first guy knows that you need the throat to help determine the cause of death. So why didn't he send it with the second guy? See what
exactly.
Exactly.
You know, the crushed windpipe is the evidence they need to nail them 3 guys.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, the judge, one of them stepmom is a judge, so all of them are white. They're gonna protect each other by not sending that throat, because that's the evidence. They strangle him and kill him, and then they dump the body. That's what I believe.
Oh yeah. Just think that out. Y'all think that through. If they got into an altercation and they strangled Noah, his windpipe would have been crushed, and they would have had to, they wouldn't have had to do anything, and the bruising would have been on the neck too, right? It would have been bruising on the neck. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Thank you.
That's what I believe.
Dang, that would explain a lot. Thank you for the call. Thank you for the call. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Oh wow. Would that explain a whole lot right there? That would explain a whole lot. The first forensic pathologist did not send the neck to the second autopsy forensic pathologist. Why didn't he send that neck with him? Why didn't he send it? Because there's evidence on that neck. And the only evidence that it possibly could have been was that they strangled Nolan. They strangled Nolan. Wow. I would demand that neck. I would demand that neck be brought to the second autopsy. I would demand that they give that neck to the second person. I would demand that. Demand all the rest. But they all live in the same county. They all know each other. There's judges, all of them. Why would you lawyer up the day after y'all come back from this trip? A person who's innocent is not looking to hire a lawyer. All 4 of them, I think it's 3 or 4, all of them lawyered up that very next day. All of them lawyered up. All of them deleted their social media. Maybe they had a fight on their social media. Maybe so their social media is deleted, so is Nolan's. Were they all really friends with him, or were they not friends with him? The neck is probably where the truth lies. The neck and maybe strangulation is where the truth lies with this forensic evidence. That's crazy. But then again, you put those pieces together, strangled the back of his head had a red bruise. The neck was missing. The neck is missing, and the back of the head had a red bruise. Why? Now we got to think about why. She said, what is done in the dark will always come to the light, and I can't wait to find out what really happened. Me either. His family deserves that. Nobody saw what happened because they did it on the boat. And they were already on their way away from the shore. The judge, what did the judge do? The judge posted a statement on social media trying to run interference. Yes, she did. The only thing her post should have said is condolences. That's correct. Did any of those boys come to his funeral? Did any of those boys come to his funeral? Did any of those boys send any flowers? Did any of those boys talk to the mom and dad? Did any of them do any of those things? You notice that his black buddies, all of the, I keep saying black buddies because I don't know what his buddies are, white, black, or whatever. But I know these two black boys came out and spoke with the parents. They went and they reached out. Katie went and reached out to the mom and the dad. Why didn't these 3-4 white boys that it's supposed to be his good friends, why haven't they reached out and talked to the parents? Why are they not speaking? Because of the lawyer. Okay. The judge posted a statement on social media trying to run interference. Yes, she did. They're going to try to cover up. They're going to try to cover up whatever they got, whatever they want to cover up for these boys. They're going to try to cover it up because it's undetermined. You cannot tell me that first forensic pathologist guy. First of all, let me back up. That sheriff, listen to me. That sheriff came out and said it sounded like an ordinary drowning. How is an ordinary everyday drowning, sir, when there's no water in his lungs? How is it an ordinary drowning where there's no water in his lungs? You came out 2 days after or a day after that person was missing and said that, which meant you weren't no forensic examiner, so you wouldn't have known how he died. Why are you out there saying he died because of drowning when you don't know how he died? Because you were trying to paint a narrative already. You were already trying to cover for these boys. That first day, they got lawyers, they lawyered up, they cleaned their social media, they did all of that within the first 48 hours. The sheriff came out talking about it was a plain old drowning. Why you come out there a day after he drowns and says he's drowning, or 2 days after that say it was an ordinary drowning when the forensic pathology report has not come back yet? Nobody has said anything about alcohol or drugs. Not in this report, not in y'all's report. Why ain't y'all come out and said nothing about where's y'all report at? Where's the first pathology report? Where's it at? Yep. No mention. Absolutely. It was somebody did something. Listen to this. Sheriff and the first examiner need to be let go. They need to be investigated. Yes. They were reckless. Absolutely. Listen to what I'm saying. That sheriff came out 2 days after Nolan's body was missing and found and said it was a plain and simple drowning. If there's no water in the lungs, it ain't no plain and simple drowning. So how would you even know to say a plain and simple drowning unless you're trying to paint a narrative already? You're trying to say that he drowned. You're trying to cover for what he really died from. And then the second pathologist, the second autopsy guy, know full well that he's supposed to send Nolan's neck to that second guy. But he didn't. And the caller just said it because they strangled him. That would explain the bruising on the back of his head. That would explain why they didn't send the neck to the second examiner. And that's the reason why they didn't find no water in the lungs. They didn't find no drugs in the system. They didn't find no alcohol in the system, because that isn't how he died. Alcohol and drugs in the system was not how he died. They can't determine how he died because the neck is not there, and they can't explain why he got red bruising on the back of his head. To me, that would explain it has something to do with his neck, how he died. No mention of the call to Coast Guard and the tow because they were sinking, and no mention of Nolan being left on the island. No mention of him whatsoever. We're going to wait for the investigation to be over, but that don't mean we don't have questions. What do you mean? That don't mean we don't have questions. I have plenty of questions now. Why didn't that second examiner send the neck of Nolan to the second examiner? Why didn't the first guy send all of the body parts with the second guy? Why can't they explain the redness on the back of his neck? Why didn't he on the back of his head? Why didn't they send the neck when they were supposed to? Why didn't they find water in the lungs? If the sheriff said he was drowned, it was ordinary drowning, why ain't no water in the lungs? That would tell me that it's an ordinary drowning, right? If I found water in the lungs, but you didn't find no water in the lungs. So what was this sheriff talking about? Why was he out there doing cover? This is called brainstorming, Black America. You brainstorm these things. Maybe somebody will hear it and it'll pop into their brain. Oh, yeah, that's right. I didn't check about the neck. Why didn't I check about the neck? We don't know what happened. The whole point is the autopsy says undetermined because they don't know what happened. That first autopsy guy knows what happened because he has all of Nolan's body parts. He has all of them. We don't know what happened. That's why they're asking for transparency, because they're not being transparent. They're trying to stonewall these people and say that it was just a plain old drowning, and these boys lawyered up on the second day. The second day, before anybody knew anything, these boys had lawyers and they had scrubbed their social media. Make it make sense. Don't nobody do that. His other friends didn't do that. Katie came out. That girl came out. No, he wasn't with me. We talked, and then he left. And he went to get on the boat with his boys. What do you mean? You're asking too many questions lead to false narrative. You're supposed to ask questions. These are questions that everybody should be asking about the Nolan case. Everybody should be asking these questions. All of these questions should be answered. That's the reason why. That's the reason why Ben Crump came onto this case. Ben Crump came onto this case because they wanted to know exactly why these questions that I'm asking have not been answered. That's why Ben Crump is assigned to the case, because he knows what questions need to be asked. He knows what questions need to be answered, and they're not answering the questions. If you have an undetermined cause of death, that tells me that this first pathologist, this first autopsy guy, didn't send all the stuff he was supposed to. Let me answer the phone call. Hello?
Call from
Black.
To accept, press 1.
All right. Black America, can we hear you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So I just looked it up again just to make certain.
Mm-hmm.
If you drown,
Mm-hmm.
right, there probably will be no sufficient amount of water
Mm-hmm.
in your lungs
Mm-hmm.
because your airways,
Mm-hmm.
your pathways automatically close up
Mm-hmm.
to stop your body from intaking water. It is an automatic reflex, like blinking or your heartbeat or something like that. You won't have any water. Yeah.
Yes, you will have water. If you drown, that's what drowning means.
No,
drowning means you have water, you have liquid in your lungs. So yes, there would have been liquid in the lungs.
After me, because I'm after him.
You guys getting transmit?
No.
Oh, I'm getting transmit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm next on one. Transmit got priority over D. I just have to let everybody know.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, HQ. That I'm telling you, I just looked it up.
No, what you're saying is the lungs have to be saturated with water. That's not what Ben Crump said. Ben Crump said
that's not what I said.
Ben Crump said there was no water in his lungs.
But Ben Crump isn't a doctor. And I doubt if he's ever been a firefighter or a paramedic or EMT or pulled a body out of a pool. I have, or pulled a body out of a river or a lake. I have. And I'm telling you,
Ben Crump read the autopsy report. He did not come up with this determination.
How about
Hold on. Ben Crump didn't come up with these conclusions himself. He read the autopsy report. This is not Ben Crump. This is the autopsy report. The autopsy report said there was no water in the lungs. You're projecting onto Ben Crump. Ben Crump didn't say any of these things.
Okay, I'm not arguing with that, but I just had to look it up and refresh my memory and make sure.
So your point is that you don't have to have water in your lungs in order to drown.
Yes, that's my point. But I do love the fact about what the other guy said about the choking. I feel like a good rear neck choke would have crushed his windpipe. And once again, that's why I was telling you, boys are reckless. We fight with our friends, HQ. Us boys, we have knockdown, drag out fights with our friends. So something like this could. So this is the whole thing about it. I don't want you to think that I don't care about the boy dying in the manner that he died. I just want the truth. I don't care whether he lived or died. He wasn't in my family. I don't know him. What I like to hear though is the truth. I don't care about this boy's life, but once again, you asking, well, what if this happened? Or what if that happened? You're asking too many what ifs, and it sways everybody from the actual what happened. You know what I mean? Can you understand that?
You have to ask questions in order to get there's the determination, the undetermined cause of death spurs more questions. You have to ask the questions in order to get your satisfaction. I would never be satisfied with what they came up with, this undetermined. Coming up with undetermined would mean to me that first of all, there's too many loose ends, Black America. There's too many loose ends. Okay. First of all, the neck is missing from the second exam. Why is the neck missing? There's a red bruise on the back of his head. Why is there a big red bruise? Okay, so that tells me something happened or something occurred around the neck region. What was it?
Right.
Which tells me he didn't do that to himself, Black America. He didn't do that to himself.
Well,
therefore, it's not a regular death.
I didn't say that it was a regular death. That's not what I said. What I said is you're throwing so many things at the wall. This is only a big deal because it was a Black boy and he was with a bunch of little white kids and he ended up dying. It was a very popular streamer's daughter who died a couple of weeks ago in the pool in his backyard. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody gives a shit. You know why? Because it was a Black man and his black child was at home, and that black child died.
So,
And nobody
so
cares.
you're saying
People only care about this
because
of the racial component.
You mean to tell me
that's the only reason people care?
You mean to tell me that you think if this would have been a white boy, that this would not have been a racial thing?
I understand that it's a racial thing. I don't care about the racial part of it, is what I'm telling you. The only reason why it is a big thing is because of the racial part. And I wish we could kind of like, I mean, goddamn, kind of get past that.
It would still be a racial thing if it would have been a white boy, Black America. So you saying that is a moot point.
HQ, thank you for pointing that out. That's what I'm saying.
What you're saying is a moot point. It doesn't matter whether it's black person or a white person. It still would have been a big deal. So what do you mean?
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, that's what I'm saying, HQ. It wouldn't been a big deal if when people go out to that lake in Georgia, there, whatever lake that is, and all those people drown every year, and it's a bunch of black people on boats and having a good time and people drown. You don't hear about it. It's not a big deal.
Because they're not labeled as suicide or suspicious or murder. They're not labeled as such.
Well, we don't know what they are, HQ. We just know that they out at the lake having a good time, partying. It happens all the time here.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure
out here die every year.
I'm pretty sure if a black person would have drowned a black boy, that it would be on the news. Somebody would. All of these things, most of these things hit the news. It may not be national news or local. It may not be as big as this particular death, but usually somebody.
So why is this so big? So why is this one so big? That's what we get into. Why is this one so big?
This one is big is because it's a suspicious death.
No, it's big because it's a black boy.
No,
that was with a bunch of white boys, and he died.
It's a suspicious death because there's an undetermined death on the table. Now, if you would have, the boys would have came back and said, Nolan fell out of the boat. We blah, blah, blah. We couldn't get him. Blah, 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 whatever. We would have a story. We don't have a story. There's no story. These boys are not talking. These boys lawyered up. Why would they lawyer up?
Yeah, you're
Why
not.
would you do all those things?
Something happens, HQ. You're not supposed to talk.
No. That's not how that happens. That's not how that happens.
That is exactly how that happens.
No, that's not
if
how
something
that
happens.
That's not how that happens. Never. That's never how that happens.
You went to Catholic school.
You
went to Catholic school. You didn't grow up like the rest of us, HQ. You didn't grow up like regular black people.
Black America. If I didn't do anything wrong, I would have no reason to lawyer up. I would have no reason to scrub anybody's social media. I wouldn't have no reason to do any of those things.
That's what I'm telling you. Think about this, HQ. You can't scrub somebody's dead social media.
Yes, you
can. That means you would have had
to get it. Yes, you can. You can't
do that.
Somebody described it to me. Somebody described it on the internet.
And this is what I'm saying. This is all conspiracy theory shit. Like, that's what I don't like. We got to get away from, especially as black people.
Wait a minute. Why is it that every time it has to do with, why is it, Black America, that every time it becomes a situation between black and white, you always giving grace to the white people, but you don't never give grace to the black people?
Nope. I'm not giving grace, HQ.
Every time I have talked to you, you have given grace.
You are the one that went to
school, but you never give grace to the black.
You have white friends. You work around white people. I am a nigga. I am a drug dealer. I am a gangbanger. I am an ex-felon. I am a thug. I don't give grace to white people. I don't have no white people.
You always give grace to white people. You never.
No, I don't. What I want to do is hear the truth, HQ. It was 73. 1973.
You always give grace to the white person. It's never about.
No, I
always.
do not.
No, I'm sorry. Not grace. A little grace, but you always ascribe the most negative connotation to the black person. There you go. That's what I'm saying.
I didn't say anything to disparage this young man. This young man could have been one of my sons, HQ. I got 9 boys. This young man could have been one of my sons.
You keep giving me the argument as to why they couldn't have did it.
I didn't say that they couldn't have did it. I said I like the choking narrative. I like that narrative. The crushed windpipe. Once again, I don't care that he died. I don't care how he died. I like that they got into a fight and that they choked the life out of him. That's why they didn't send the throat. That sounds very plausible. I like that. I don't like when people start spinning up a bunch of, oh, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? It's too much shit to throw against the wall.
We have to spin up that narrative because we don't have the truth. We have no truth. We have no.
Okay, so if you don't have, and that's what I'm saying,
you have
if you don't have the truth,
you don't want people.
No, if you don't have the truth, you either be quiet or you wait until the truth comes out. You don't try to make a truth out of something.
Who's making
That's not
truth?
right?
Wait a minute, who's trying to make a truth out of anything? What are you talking about?
HQ, you saying about the closed casket? Why wouldn't you think that a body that's been in water for 24 hours wouldn't need to be in a closed casket?
But how do we know the body was in water for 24 hours?
What happens to a body that's been in water for 24 hours, HQ?
One of the arms, is that a service?
I couldn't even begin to tell you. I couldn't even begin to tell you. But my whole thing is,
well, I'm gonna tell you, it's something called water law, right? You got fish, you got crabs, you got crawdads, you got all kind of little creatures that take little bits and chunks and bites off of your body, and yes, so it's something that you probably wouldn't want to have an open casket for. Like, so you, and that's why I'm saying you come with all of these different things and narratives about what's going on, and I'm telling you, you just throwing things against the wall hoping they stick, and it's not right. That's all I'm saying.
Wait a minute, what do you mean it's not right? People need to be, every person needs to be held accountable for their job and to find the truth and the facts. These are questions that should be asked by his parents, that should be asked by the examiner, that should be asked by the American public. What do you mean don't ask questions? How do you expect the world doesn't revolve around? Wait a minute, hold on, Black America. You make it seem like somebody tells me that Nolan died by drowning and I'm supposed to accept that he died by drowning even though there ain't no water in his lungs. What are you talking about?
Well, then you know what you do? Then you look up, hey, do you have to have water in your lungs to drown? And then you know what you're going to see? Oh, no, that you don't actually have to have water in your lungs to be a victim of drowning.
And that's correct. None of that was expressed in this autopsy report. None of that was expressed on that stage a couple minutes ago. None of that was said. I'm saying to you, none of that was said on that stage, which means that's not what happened. The fact that the sheriff came out and said, it seems like a plain old drowning to me, and then Ben Crump not address what he said tells me there was no drowning.
Once again, HQ, you are trying to trust Ben Crump.
Why wouldn't I trust Ben Crump?
Black America does not trust Ben Crump, HQ.
Yes, they do.
It's just like, it'll be like listening to Roland Martin or Al Sharpton. We in Black America don't fucking trust those guys.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do trust them. We trust them to get the examiner. We trust them for all the questions to be asked and all of the questions to be answered. We trust them. We know that those questions and things are going to be asked and answered. Just because you don't like them don't mean they don't know how to get questions answered. That's the thing. I think you have a prejudice against these guys. you have a thing against
No,
Ben
I
Crump.
don't.
And what do you have against Ben Crump? What's wrong with Ben Crump?
He's an ambulance chaser.
So
you know what that is?
So
None of those things are good. HQ.
That means nothing.
I don't know.
An ambulance chaser means nothing. An ambulance chaser means he chases after a case and gets the truth and gets the truth out there and makes sure it comes to light. You think this person wouldn't want the truth to come to light? You think this person wouldn't want that the world to know that these 3 white boys killed? If he's such a race hustler, he's such an ambulance chaser, why wouldn't he want the world to know that these 3 white boys killed this boy? Why wouldn't he want them to know that? I would think that if he's such a race hustler and he's such a creep, he would want people to know this is what I've been telling y'all all these years, that these white boys killed this black boy. That's why I'm out here, because I want y'all to make sure that y'all know that these 3 white boys killed this black boy. Why wouldn't he want them to know that? What difference does it make if he's a race hustler? What difference does it make if he's an ambulance?
What difference does it make if he's a race hustler?
Yes. What difference does it make?
Are you listening to the words you're saying?
Yeah, I'm listening to your words. I'm listening to your words. You're calling him a ambulance chaser. What does an ambulance chaser do? And that ambulance chaser chases cases to bring as much publicity and profile as he can. That's what Ben Crump's job is to do. His job is to make sure that all of these things are overturned. All of these questions are asked and answered for the family. That's his job, is to get these questions answered. Al Sharpton's job is to make sure that the national spotlight is on this case. That is their job. They're doing their job. Just because you don't like Ben Crump, just because you don't like Al Sharpton, don't mean they don't know how to do their job. That I don't care about whether I like Ben Crump or Al Sharpton. I don't care one way or the other. Long as they bring light to the family and illumination to the case for these people. That's their job. You don't have to like them. Nobody likes ambulance chasers. Nobody likes race hustlers. Nobody cares. As long as they're...
Well, then why are you propping them up? If
because
we don't like, why are you
because they're bringing recognition to this case. They're bringing a spotlight to this case. We have an undetermined death of a human being. Now more than ever, you need transparency. Now more than ever, you need a spotlight on this case so they won't push it under the rug. That sheriff came out and said this was a plain old drowning and there was no water in his lungs. That in itself is unprofessional and unethical.
Okay.
That right there is unprofessional and unethical, which tells me, which tells me that they had already made a determination about what happened to that boy. And they didn't even have no forensic pathology.
You keep going back to the key factor that there's no water in his lungs when HQ. We all just know, because if you look it up, all you have to do is look it up, that there does not have to be any water in your lungs for you to drown. There doesn't have to be any water in your lungs for you to drown. So you gotta stop even saying that part.
What are you talking
about? Because that part is a non-starter.
You're just wrong. I'm letting you talk, but you're just wrong. Okay?
I'm not wrong. Look it up. Everybody in the chat can do a simple Google search. Does there have to be water in your lungs for you to drown? It's going to say no, because your windpipe constricts automatically to stop your body from intaking water. I promise you, HQ. 100%.
We don't care whether.
This is the whole thing about it, HQ.
We don't
you know I am your only. Hold on. You know I am your last and only original subscriber that comes over here on a regular basis. I'm it. Don't feed me false narratives.
I don't understand.
I was here from your first show.
I don't understand what you're talking about. What are you attacking me for?
I'm not attacking you. What I'm saying is,
then why would you even need to say something like that?
Because HQ, nobody else is listening to the rhetoric. Like, at least be truthful and be honest.
Black America, what the hell are you talking about? There are.
HQ.
I gave you
Look
a
up.
list. Hold
Okay.
on. I gave you a list of people that speak just like me. I can't help it if you don't know how to search people up and find other people that say the same thing I do. I can't help it that you're limited in where you go. But don't come over here and say I'm the only person that speaks like that. You're a Republican, so therefore you wouldn't listen to me anyway. Okay.
Why? And why do you keep calling me a Republican?
Because you're talking
I'm
like
not a
fucking
Republican.
white supremacist. You're talking like a Republican. You're talking like a Republican. I told you that
I'm
many
talking
times.
like a Republican. Give me one Republican talking point that I have because I don't like homosexuals. So it can't be that I'm just a Christian, right? So Christian straight black men can't like homosexuals, right? So that makes me a Republican?
No.
Come on, HQ. That's not fair. This is what I'm saying.
No,
you're not
that
fair.
doesn't make you. No, that's not the only thing. But that's just a small portion of the thing. When I tell you that our country is burning down, our country is going to hell in a handbasket because of the policy decisions that the Republican Party has made for over the past 2 years. When I say that to you, and the first fucking thing you say to me is, "Oh, we men don't like gay people. That's why you Democrats won't get no votes." That tells me that you're a Republican, because only a MAGA or a Republican. Wait a minute, hold on. Only a MAGA or a Republican.
That doesn't mean I'm a Republican. Let me
why
explain
do you
it to
care more about? Why do you care more about gay people than you do our country going to hell?
Because I care more about the moral fabric of our country.
Nobody
than I do
cares
a
about the
goddamn
moral
immigrant.
fabric of our country if the
That's
policy
you.
decisions take us down a rabbit hole
That's
that
you,
we're never gonna
HQ.
come out of.
I care about my children and my grandchildren more than I care about immigrant people. I don't care about people getting killed in the street when if they're putting immigrants out the country. I only care about people in Black America and Americans in general.
So why is
I
it
don't
that
give a shit
only
about anybody else?
Why is it that only Black folks that don't seem to get what Ben Crump is doing? No. Let me rephrase. Only people on the right who are Black are talking about Ben Crump being a race hustler or being a person that's an ambulance chaser. Why is it that only people on the right are talking like that? Because people on the left, are saying that Ben
I don't follow any right hand any kind of right person, any kind of person that's on the right. HQ. I only know about them is because you bring them up.
The only people the only people who got Ben Crump in their mouth about Ben Crump doing anything is people on the right. And the first thing out of their mouth is he's a race hustler. First thing out of their mouth is he's an ambulance chaser. Every right-wing person that I've spoken to have said one of those two words. So why is it that every time I speak to a Republican, you got the same fucking talking points as the Republicans? Every time. Not half the time, every time.
Wait a minute. Probably because I'm a straight male. You know, like I told you, us straight men, we are basically all the same, HQ. We are. Your husband was the same way, and you admit it. You just don't like it.
Yeah, but my husband would never say that immigrants couldn't be in this country. My husband would never call out gay people and say, I'm not voting for Democrats because they like gay people.
Now,
would never have said,
come on, HQ, don't do that. You know your husband didn't like gay people.
You don't do that. Don't tell me what I know my husband would have did. My husband was a diehard Democrat. My husband had no problem with gay people. He just was not a person that dealt with gay people. That's all. But he never would have turned over. That's
what I'm saying. He didn't have no gay friends. It wasn't no gay guys that came to your house ever.
He never would. Yes, it was. We had a gay person. That's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. All right. But either way it go, you have Republican talking points. You just have Republican talking points.
No.
That's all. You just
Okay, whatever. I'm just a straight black man. That's all.
I get it. I do. But you talk like you Republican. You talk like you Republican.
Yeah, I just
What's that background?
You know, I do what. Okay.
Hello?
All right. Let me hang up because I got a training with me.
Oh.
So I'll talk to you in a minute.
Okay. That's Black America. That's Black America. So either way, it would be unturned. See, I just have all these thousands of questions. I would have all these thousands of questions if I was the parents. I just would. I just would. Why is it that y'all, you know that we need all of his body parts? Why didn't you send all the body parts over to the second autopsy guy? Why didn't you do that? Okay. If he is water death, is suffocation. I ain't never heard of it. Some have some have very little, some have a lot. Okay. But 9 times out of 10, if these people drowned, they suffocated and some water got into their lungs. 9 times out of 10. Okay. The findings alone does not establish that Nolan did not drown, and it does not by itself prove foul play. The independent pathologist's preliminary conclusion remained undetermined. Everything has remained undetermined, indicating that all the available evidence was not enough to reach a definitive medical conclusion at this stage. Okay. One of the biggest takeaways from the press conference was that the independent examiner reported no water in Nolan's lungs. There was no water in Nolan's lungs. I'm sorry. He ain't no extraordinary person. He's a healthy 18-year-old boy. Why didn't he have water in his lungs if he drowned? So before we jump to conclusions, I get it. Forensic experts are clear that this does not prove someone did or did not drown. That's not proof. That's why the medical examination still classified the death as undetermined. Okay. But it's highly suspicious. No water in the lungs. He said there was no water in the lungs. No water. He determined no water in the lungs, which means 9 times out of 10, you died on land. You didn't die in the water. That's 9 times out of 10. When you don't have water in your lungs, 9 times out of 10, you died on land. It just is what it is. We're not gonna play some goofy card that Black America want us to come up with. 9 times out of 10, when you don't have water in your lungs, that means that you died on land. Okay? That's crazy. That's crazy. And that tells me his throat is missing. They could have choked him out. He had a red thing on the back. He had a big bruise on the back of his neck. They could have been choked him out, then put him in the water. I don't know. All of this is suspicious. Everything is suspicious. We don't know what happened, but we do know one thing. Let me put it this way. When you cut it down the middle and you put murder, non-murder, not murder or murder. You put murder on one side, you put not murdered on the other. All of these things these kids did end up on the murder side of the fucking bingo card. Everything those kids did is suspicious. And it ends up on the murder side of the aisle. There ain't too many things over here. Why was he out there by himself? Why didn't they go back and go get him? His throat is missing? When did he disappear? Did they have a fight? Why did they close their social media up? Why did they scrub his social media? All of these things. Why did that sheriff come out there first off and say it was just an accidental drowning when ain't no water in his lungs? All of these things, to me, fall on the cover up and murder side of the aisle. That's what that falls on to me. Maybe I'm just goofy like that, but all of that stuff falls on the left side of it falls on the murdered side of the aisle. And we gonna keep on top of this, because I would love to hear, I would love to find out what the hell happened. Hopefully they don't sweep it under the rug. Hopefully, because Ben Crump is there and Reverend Al Sharpton is there, that we can get some answers for real, for real. I'm not saying that they murdered him maliciously or anything else. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is all of these things that have happened have fallen on the suspicious side of the aisle. Nothing we have heard seems logical. Remember that, y'all. Remember, everything we have heard has been illogical. He stayed on the island. The girl said he didn't. He left his phone on the boat. Why did he leave his phone on the boat? He 18 years old. He ain't finna fucking leave his phone on the boat. I'm going with old girl. Give me my phone. So, hey, I'll check y'all out later. Give me my phone. Why didn't he take his phone? Why didn't they give the mom and the daddy the phone when they got back to the island? They got a boat. Something happened to their boat. They needed to go here and there. They didn't leave the island until 3:45. Or no, they didn't leave the island until 4:30. If Nolan was seen last at 3 o'clock, why didn't they go find Nolan and see if Nolan wanted to come home with them at 4:30? Why didn't they have any contact with Nolan? They got a 911 emergency call from the northwest side of the island. That's the side of the island that Nolan came up out of the water, or he was dead on. They found him on the northwest side of the island. That's where they called for the boat 911 emergency at 4:30 p.m. Why didn't they, if he was seen at 3 o'clock and the last time they saw him was when he was saying he was going to talk to Katie, why didn't they go back and double back and say, hey, dude, you done talking with Katie? Let's get up out of here. It's 4:30. Let's get up out of here. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they go and see if he was, why were they, where was Nolan? Why didn't they go back and find Nolan? Okay. Why didn't they ride by the island before they left and see if they could get Nolan on the boat with them? All kinds of questions that I have. All kinds of questions that I have. To me, it seems like it's a cover-up. Maybe they didn't hurt him. I don't know. I don't know, but I know everything that has happened has been on the suspicious side of the aisle, and everything else has not been normal. Nothing has been normal. Everything has been on that goofy side of the aisle. Oh, that ain't me fighting. That ain't Nolan fighting. That's me fighting. I'm having an argument on the island. Why are you having an argument on the island, old boy? Old boy came on TV and said he was the one they were fighting, or his friend was the one they were fighting with. Why? Why would you need to come on there and say that? That's not Nolan talking. Where was Nolan? Innocent people don't get lawyers. Innocent people don't get lawyers. Innocent people don't clam up on social media. And did you see that note from the brother? One of the white boys' brother. I keep calling them white boys because I don't know their name. Did you see the white boy's brother come on there and say, the black people, blah, blah, blah. He said it like he don't really speak to blacks. That's the way he talked. Like he really don't speak about blacks except in some kind of weird way. You go back and read one of those white boys, his brother came out and said something. Okay. Okay. We don't know. It's always going to be suspicious. And maybe they covered it up. Maybe they covered it up well enough. They show closed ranks well enough. They sure did do that. But anyway, I got to get out of here. I'll be back later on. Maybe we have some more updates. Who knows? And we can talk about something else. Hey, it might be something. I want to talk about something else. but it'll be a subject for tonight at 10 o'clock. Please hit the like and the share. I appreciate like and the subscribe. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys. And I appreciate you calling in, Black. But boy, it always goes off the rails when you call. I appreciate you guys coming over. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys.